Didn't see you there. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Dennis, you haven't posted a substantial YouTube video in 3 years. What happened? Well, depression. Depression happened. Anyway, my arm's kind of being twisted right now, so for the next 11 weeks, I will be posting a video a week. About what? I don't know. But I have been looking for an excuse to spotlight some games in my collection. So, without further ado, I present to you Shaq Fu. This game is notorious as one of the worst games ever made. Originally pitched as a basketball game, Shaq, having been a fan of Mortal Kombat at the time, counterpitched the idea of starring in a fighting game instead. The developer, Delphine Software, had never made a fighting game before, so we're already off to a great start. Their previous breakout hits like Out of This World and Flashback were more story-based cinematic experiences with very smooth rotoscoped sprite animation. So, as a play to their strengths, Delphine Software decided to rotoscope all their character sprites for Shaq Fu and focus more on smooth animations rather than, well, the actual gameplay. I don't dabble too much in real fighting games outside of Smash Ultimate, but I'm pretty sure this genre is all about quick frame-perfect reactions and responsive controls. Two things that Shaq Fu doesn't have. You see, Delphine Software went all in on their character animations, giving them lots of frames to depict very smooth movements. The problem with this is that it makes the gameplay super sluggish. The movement of Shaq Fu's character sprites have so many frames in them that oftentimes your inputs won't even register because your characters can't respond until their animation is finished. Anyway, on top of the sluggish controls, the mechanics of this game make hardly any sense and it is difficult. Honestly, the weirdest thing about this game is the fact that it exists. On paper, the concept of Shaq Fu sounds absolutely bonkers. It's a fighting game starring Shaquille O'Neal in which he beats up an assortment of generic Halloween tropes and racial stereotypes in order to save a child from a mummy. Legitimately makes no sense. I own 4 copies of this game. Contrary to all the backlash this game has gotten throughout the years, as a kid I was obsessed with this game. Don't get me wrong, this game was garbage when it came out, and it was still garbage when I played it in like 2004 or whatever. But let's be real, when you're that young, your standards for games are kinda low. Don't get me wrong, I was playing classics like Donkey Kong, Street Fighter, and Chrono Trigger, but I was also splitting my time with garbage shovelware like Shrek, Swamp Kart Speedway. I mean, yeah, this game gets a lot of flack in the gaming community, so much so that there's a whole website devoted to collecting and destroying all copies of this game and its sequel. But if I'm being 100% honest, it's not even all that bad once you get used to it. Sure, it's hard and the controls are whack, but when you manage to beat your opponent, you kinda get a weird sense of achievement. Landing a punch or a kick or whatever this is makes you feel like you accomplished something, even when you didn't. Kinda like filing your taxes. Anyway, I made it a goal of mine to beat this game every day after school just to get that sweet boost of serotonin. I can't explain why I had fun playing this game, I just did. Despite all its shortcomings, it posed a challenge to me, and I guess I found that challenge kinda fun. Also, I know I was giving the concept shit earlier, but it's actually one of the things that I kinda like about this game. Sure, this game was a blatant cash grab trying to capitalize on Shaq's popularity in the 90s, but I honestly thought that Shaq in a fighting game was kinda cool. Seeing him outside of his element in some fantastical setting was refreshing in a way, and let's be real, Shaq Fu isn't the weirdest thing to come out of the 90s. And you know, technically, any video game can sound kinda wacky on paper with enough effort. Plumber eats vegetables to save a princess. Semi-sentient pink creature plays golf with its own body. Worm shoots gun. Did Shaq Fu have the most creative concept for a fighting game? Nah. Was it innovative at all in its storytelling and mechanics? Pfft, nope. But remember, I'm 5. I have no taste. Looking back at this game, I can see why it's easy to hate on it. The marketing strategy behind this game was super aggressive and it generated a lot of hype. But when players actually got their hands on it, it fell short of what it was promised to be.
Shaq can throw wind at people.
It sucks, doesn't it?
So hard.
I can't even eat.
Then, over time, it became this thing that was just fun to hate for the sake of hating it. Not because it was actually unplayable, but because it was a meme. But I grew up with this game without any of that context, and I still had fun with it. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters when it comes to video games. They exist for you to have fun. On that note, I'm gonna pop in the sequel to see if it's a good time. I mean, how bad could it be?
Dance, Sasquatch!
Those kids just jealous because you such big boy.